George Washington was an American political leader, military general, and founding father who served as the first president of the United States from 1789 to 1797. At the end of his life, George Washington also made the controversial decision to free the legal portion of Mount Vernon's enslaved people. However, as a slaveholder, George Washington also followed the standards of his time. He condoned and even encouraged violence as a way to keep enslaved people subservient. From age 11 until his death at 67, Washington and his wife had slaves. He had a habit of being an unsanitary man and issued dirty, foul, and manure-soaked wool from the stomachs of sheep for clothing for his slaves. His slaves also lived in miserable conditions. Award-winning author and historian Henry Winesek stated during a 2003 radio interview, Washington's slaves were miserably clothed. In fact, they were so badly clothed that they were still in the wheat sacks made of the cheapest, roughest burlap to repair their own clothes. Otherwise, they would go around in rags. On April 30th, 1789, the date of his presidential inauguration, although he had mostly dentures, he had only one remaining natural tooth, a premolar, in which he gave to his dentist as a gift. During that same year, he began wearing full dentures from teeth that were yanked from the heads of slaves. Yes, teeth that came from slaves. His diary regularly mentioned troubles such as aching teeth and lost teeth. John Adams says he lost his teeth because he used them to crack Brazil nuts, but modern historians suggest mercury oxide, which he was given to treat illnesses such as smallpox and malaria, probably contributed to the loss during his lifetime. He had at least 4 sets of dentures made to replace them. Although many believe they were made of wood, they were actually made of other materials such as hippopotamus ivory, brass, gold, and human teeth. The dentures had metal fasteners, springs to force them open, as well as bolts to keep them together. The only existing complete set of Washington's dentures are owned by the Mount Vernon's Lady Association, who own and operate George Washington's estate in Northern Virginia. That set is made of human teeth, animal teeth, and ivory. There is another complete original lower jaw denture dated 1795 at the National Museum of Dentistry in Baltimore. Lund Washington, George's distant cousin, who managed Mount Vernon during the Revolution, made a notation in the plantation ledger books for May 1784 which reads, "By cash paid Negroes for 9 teeth on account of Dr. John Le Mayor, George Washington's dentist." Although it may seem honorable that cash was paid to slaves for their teeth, it is more likely that these slaves were owned by another slave master, and that slave master would have wanted compensation for the loss of his slaves' teeth. Slaves were property and had no rights, and Washington would not be obligated to pay his slaves for teeth, being that they were his property, and they would be in no position to refuse him. American history would naturally downplay such detestable and horrible acts attributed to the first president of the United States. But when stepping back and taking a look at the history of slavery in America, should we be surprised? This is Black Authentic Truth.